He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. Friedrich Nietzsche. Hello bachcho, a very warm welcome to Sunya IAS. Today we will be having an orientation session with respect to the Geography Optional Foundation course. Now there have been multiple queries with respect to the course in context of the understanding about syllabus, how you should proceed here on with respect to the Studies for Geography Optional Foundation course, and how we will proceed in the next 4.5 months duration, along with some of the doubts like what are the mistakes that we can avoid while preparing for Geography Optional Foundation course. So hence today I'll be discussing all these queries and make you understand how to proceed further with respect to Geography Optional Foundation batch. Let's start the discussion. So first of all, you must know that the Geography Optional syllabus is divided into the paper 1, that is divided into the physical geography and human geography. So paper 1, that is Principles of Geography, is further divided into section A, physical, and section B, human geography. Now paper 1 is of 250 marks, and similarly paper 2, which encompasses the studies around geography of India, also is of 250 marks. So hence 250 marks for each paper. Now please keep in mind this broad understanding, that is the paper 1 is divided into both physical geography as well as human geography. It is not only about studying a few units and leaving the other units, right, where you can score very high marks. We will come to that point a bit later. Then when we further understand about the syllabus disintegrated into the different units. So in the physical geography, that is paper 1, section A, the units are geomorphology, climatology, oceanography, biogeography, and environmental geography. So these are the 5 important units in your paper 1, section A. Now please understand that whenever you are studying for the Geography Optional Foundation, you must understand the changing pattern of the optional paper. From 2017-18 onwards particularly, the themes which have been asked around some of the units, they have changed, and also some of the units have gained more importance in the UPSC Geography Optional mains paper. So for example, the themes which have been asked now in the environmental geography, they are of more weightage, more marks. So hence our focus in the Geography Optional studies should be in a manner that is not to cover the entire syllabus, but also to understand how to cover the syllabus and how to divide the time to those units from where the questions are being asked in more weightage. For example, environmental geography. Okay, some topics in climatology, they have become very important because of the global warming that we are witnessing recently, right? However, we must understand that oceanography has been asked of only about 15-20 marks in the past 4-5 years. The weightage has declined significantly. Hence, we can try to avoid the study of those topics which was asked in 1990s, isn't it so? So hence strategy becomes the most important dimension while doing the studies in Geography Optional Foundation bacho. Okay. Next, when we talk about the second section, that is the human geography in paper 1. So first important unit is perspectives in human geography, where you study about the evolution of the geographical thought, how geography itself has evolved into an independent subject at the university level, which was not so historically, right? But we are aware that there were geographical studies which were being conducted even during the time periods of Greeks and Romans. And hence you will understand how geography has emerged as an independent subject along with understanding of some important concepts in geographical studies like regional versus systematic studies, etc. So this is one of the very important unit, but unfortunately many students leave it because they think it is a difficult unit. But we will try to cover the fundamentals of this unit very comprehensively so that you can attempt questions which have been asked from this particular unit in the Geography Optional Mains Examination. That will be our basic understanding of this unit. Okay. Then Economic Geography, which encompasses the study of the resources, industries, etc. And Population and Settlement Geography. Now please understand, bacho, that the study that you do generally for the optional is very haphazard. It is not very systematic in nature, and unfortunately because of which you do not pay attention to those units which can be very scoring and are relatively easier. For example, Population and Settlement Geography. That is, we are talking about the paper 1 section B for now. But cultural settings and settlements are also included in your paper 2. And when we calculate the average number that has been asked with respect to population and settlement, both from paper 1 and paper 2, in the recent years out of 500 marks, so we see that the average comes out to be around 80 to 90 marks. What does that mean? That means clearly that a huge proportion of marks are being asked from these units, which can be relatively higher scoring. And hence, should we pay a bit more time to these units where we can hold the fundamental concepts more easily, and we can also integrate these theories across the other units as well, bacho. So my suggestion is, please cover the syllabus elaborately, in depth, around these topics which are relatively easier and a bit more scoring. Okay. Then the next unit, that is the regional planning along with models, theories and laws in human geography. Again, very important topics in the geographical studies. Why? Because they have a very huge applicability in paper 2. Now we have a broad understanding about paper 1, that is across the physical geography and human geography topics. Now, if we leave these important topics, then what would happen? You would not be able to enrich your answers in paper 2, that is Geography of India. The models unit especially, the thought unit especially, has a huge applicability in paper 2, and you would be able to make the paper 2 very geographical in nature, right? So hence, our purpose of the strategical studies in Geography Optional Foundation will be oriented in such a manner, that is not only to cover the holistically paper, but also in a manner so that you cover the paper in a way that you are able to score higher marks. I hope this is clear. Then let's come to the next paper, that is paper 2, which encompasses the studies around physical settings, resources, okay, which also have a huge applicability in the GS papers, which we will learn subsequently. So you will learn about the resources, for example, the water resources, the energy resources, forest resources, land resources, etc. And each year nowadays, UPSC is asking permanently one question from the resources section in GS paper 1. So hence, you will be able to cover it more broadly, because these studies are included in your paper 2, Geography of India. Then agriculture, very important topic. Why? A huge weightage is also coming in GS paper 3, as we will learn. So in agriculture, we are studying the different types of cropping patterns. We are studying the agro-climatic regionalization. We will also study some of the other concepts like agro-ecological regionalization, etc. So hence, once you are done with the agriculture, you will have ample number of case studies, ample number of datas to quote across the answers both in Geography Optional as well as in GS paper bacho. And apart from that, industries, again one very important unit, because as you must be knowing, that is one compulsory question from industries is now usually being asked in GS paper 1 geography section also. So we will be broadly covering multiple industries, the locational factors, etc. Apart from that, we will also study transportation, communication and trade, bachcho, which is very important. Why? Because multiple modes of transportation are now being developed, and we are also aware about the importance of the sea lanes of communications. So hence we will learn about the historical evolution of this concept, that is transportation and communication, and how we can recently associated with the changing patterns of the trade around world. So this is again one important unit, bachcho. Then cultural setting and along with settlements, as mentioned previously, there is also one particular unit in your paper 1 section B, and similarly in paper 2, which is Geography of India, we will be covering the cultural settings along with settlements, which is very, very important topic, where you will learn the different types of the settlements, the ideas such as what are urban sprawls, what is urban fringe, what is the concept around conurbations, etc. Because these terms are now being frequently asked by UPSC across both optionals as well as GS papers. Then we will also cover regional development and planning, which is very important topic, because you must know what are the challenges ailing the different regions across India with respect to regional development and planning, and how we can pursue sustainable development in longer run, along with some important topics around the political aspects. So hence this will be the coverage broadly in your paper 2 Geography of India. Very interesting topics which have a huge overlap with also the contemporary issues, bachcho. So contemporary issues are those issues which are very much in news, which become very important in context of either agriculture, regional development and planning, industries, etc. in context of India. So rather than studying that separately, we will be integrating them across all the units specifically. So you will have an understanding about the current developments as well with respect to Geography of India, bachcho. Okay. Now let's come to the second dimension, that is how geography has a certain advantage. Now there are certain myths, certain notions around taking the optional as geography. So certain times students have different interpretations, and sometimes students are scared also. Should I take geography? Is it very vast? Will I get a rank? Okay, etc. There are multiple thoughts which are coming to your mind. Now there are certain myths and there are certain mistakes in your preparation, because of which you face the challenge. Rather than having a statement notion around the concept, that is geography has a broad coverage. Okay, my suggestion is you must cover the syllabus very strategically, and secondly develop the idea around the overlap with these GS papers, bachcho. So if you will be able to understand what a huge overlap it has with the GS papers, this doubt itself will vanish from your minds. Okay, so for example, let's start with the discussion around the overlap with GS paper 1. So in GS paper 1, clearly it has been mentioned, that is one of the important topic in context of distribution of key natural resources across the world, okay, location of the primary, secondary and tertiary sector industries, etc. Now as mentioned, resources, industries, etc. will be covered holistically in both paper 1 as well as paper 2. That means this is an overlapping section from your geography optional, right? And each year compulsorily one question from resources or two questions from resources. For example, solar energy, for example, the depletion of groundwater resources, etc. has been asked, bachcho. So hence you will be able to score higher marks in these type of questions because you have already covered it at the geography optional. Then secondly, geographical features and their location changes in the critical geographical features, etc. and salient features of world's physical geography. Again, an overlap with the geography optional syllabus bachcho. Then, important geophysical phenomena, that is earthquakes, tsunamis, etc. Now, all of them will be covered as a part of the basics itself in the unit encompassing geomorphology. So, hence, these questions seem to be a cakewalk in the GS paper 1, that is the geography section, because you have already studied the concepts in your geography optional bachcho. Okay. Now, for an example, you can see that from the physical geography, from resources, industries, climate, disaster, etc. Okay. Each year, almost 100 to 110 marks, a bit variation is there, is being asked in your GS paper 1 section geography. What does that mean? That is 100 marks or 110 marks. Section can be easily attemptable if you are having geography as an optional subject, right? You need not do any specific other studies for at least this section. Okay. Now, let's move to the other papers as well. For example, GS paper 2, where there is a specific mention about India and its neighborhood, international relations, right? Which would also include some of the other topics like the effect of the policies and politics of the developed and developing countries, issues relating to development and management of social sector, etc. Now, both these topics, okay, which will be covered in the geopolitical theories bachcho extensively, where we will try to understand the historical evolution of these concepts such as geopolitics and what is the current connotation around the idea of geopolitics and how it has evolved over a period of time. So, hence, will you have an advantage in GS paper 2 around these questions? Definitely yes, because you have a broader understanding around the concepts such as the idea of rimland, the idea around heartland, etc. and how these concepts came into evolution. So, hence again an overlap with the geography optional bachcho. And apart from that, the context of education, health, human resources, issues relating to poverty and hunger will also be broadly covered in your geography optional across multiple units in variable manner. So, for example, we will be studying about the human resources, human development indices, etc. in your unit of population geography. And apart from that, across the other sections as well. Okay. So, each year from these topics itself, the questions have been asked for 50 marks around IR. And similarly, on these topics of around 10 or 15 marks, that would mean an overlap of around 65 marks. And similarly, let's move to the GS paper 3. Okay. So, overlap with the GS mains paper 3. That is, first of all, with respect to the major cropping patterns, okay, irrigation systems, transportation and marketing of the agriculture produce, etc. And apart from that, also the section around the issues related to farm subsidies, MSPs, right, issues of buffer stock, technology missions, land reforms in India specifically, then food processing and related industries. Now, all of these topics bachcho will be covered extensively in the agriculture unit itself. That would mean that you are covering these topics in the agriculture unit, and hence these again are an easy attempt in your GS 3 mains paper, right? So, the idea was that geography optional has a huge overlap with GS paper 1, 2 and 3, okay? But not along in these topics, also along these topics such as infrastructure, which we will be studying in the unit of transportation communication, then disaster management and also environment. Now, these topics are asked each year of about 80 to 100 marks bachcho. And now, if we total from GS paper 1, 2 and 3, that would mean around 100, around 60 and around 100. So, let's take an average of around 250 or 260 marks. That would mean you have an overlap of around 250 to 260 marks from your geography optional bachcho in your GS paper 1, 2 and 3 itself, which would be out of the total of 750 marks. I hope now it is clear to you. That is, even if we are studying the different units holistically in a broader coverage, that would have a huge overlap with the GS paper 1, 2 and 3. But apart from that, also in the essay paper, from the two themes, one theme has definitely an huge overlap with the geography optional. For example, the issues related to women, health, poverty, etc. will be covered extensively in the geography optional. So hence, bachcho, I hope it is clear to you. That is, you are having a huge overlap from the geography optional in your GS papers, because of which even if you are covering the optional more broadly, you will have a certain advantage definitely, right? Now, I will come directly to the mistakes, bachcho, right? So there are certain myths about geography optional. That is, it is very broad, very extensive. Students are not getting ranks, etc. from geography optional. That is primarily associated with your approach towards geography optional. How you are starting the studies in your optional will carry forward in the next year. Because if your beginning was not correct, then probably it will spill over to the next attempt or to the mains, etc. So hence now itself, we can eliminate the different mistakes which you will tend to do in the next coming year. So what are the mistakes? First mistake is spending too much time on only a few units across paper 1 section A. Now just as mentioned, paper 1 has section A and section B. Students generally tend to focus more on the topics like geomorphology, oceanography, climatology, and that's it. And apart from that, they focus on the topics around human geography like economic geography, the unit of thoughts, regional development and planning, etc. That is very less. That would mean a disproportionate amount of time that is spent across only a few units, whereas the other units are left like that. That would mean again, that is, you are not able to attempt these questions in the mains examination, and hence you score on an average lesser marks, that is around 180 to 210. Now that is the trend with most of the geography optional students, because year after year they are focusing only on 2 to 3 units, not covering the other units. Some students have left entirely the topics like economic geography, the topics like geographical thought. Now my question is, if you are not studying the geographical thoughts and thinkers extensively, then how will you make your answer look like geographical answer, bachcho? So let's eliminate the first mistake, that is focus only across a few units. In section A paper 1, you must focus on those topics as well which are very highly scoring, right? Next mistake, that is human geography is not covered effectively. So hence you are not able to make your paper 2 answers look like geographical answers, because you do not have enough hold on those topics which are from the human geography paper 1, because of which your score in the paper 2 remains low. So human geography has a huge overlap in your paper 2. So you will not do this second mistake as well, that is not covering human geography extensively. Next mistake, that is with respect to lack of dedicated preparation for the geography optional paper 2. Now you take the geography optional paper 2 very lightly. There are some students who are not preparing the geography optional paper 2 at all. Now again there are chances, that is you will score very less marks in paper 2 in this scenario. So hence the strategy is very clear, that is focus also on human geography, and the topics which are having an overlap here, you will be covering them parallelly with the human geography. But apart from that, those units which are not covered here, you will be covering them, so that you have an added advantage, because you will be able to score 150, 160 marks from a broader coverage of paper 2. If you have a set of case studies, datas, some enrichment also in the foundation courses, and that is our perspective. That is to provide you with the enrichment along with the foundation classes only, so that you have a set of case studies, datas to enrich your answers, bacho. And the fourth mistake, that is reference to too many books without conceptual clarity. Now this is a fundamental error, isn't it so? Because geography has a lot of notes, lot of study material which is available in the market. So you tend to refer to too many books or too many notes and without having conceptual clarity. So hence in turn that becomes a backlash, because again and again your marks in the similar range, that is between 180, 190 to 220, 230, etc. You are not able to take that leap bounded impact in the mains examination marks, because you are always referring to too many books without particular enrichment, without particular data to substantiate your answers. So my suggestion is restrict yourself to the number of sources which are being told to you in the foundation classes along with the class notes itself. Otherwise you will always have multiple sources without any particular enrichment, bacho. Okay, so for that reference itself there are certain books which you will refer to, but apart from that you will take a hold. You will not refer to multiple books which are available in market. Yes, there will be very nice books which are available in the market, but our tendency should be to restrict ourselves to a limited number of sources, because we have to clear the examination, isn't it so? Rather than having a collection of number of books. So first of all, one book that you must have, very nice book, that is R.D. Dixit Geographical Thought, second edition, very nice book which will cover extensively the unit of geographical thought. So you can have this. Second, Models in Geography by Majid Hussain. Along with that, Human Geography Majid Hussain. Two books which will be referring with respect to the units like the settlements, population and models, along with some other units. So you must have these two books, very nice books, right? Then there are multiple editions of Savindra Singh books. You will have the geomorphology one. Apart from that, restrict yourself for now, okay? And India, a Comprehensive Geography, D.R. Khuller for paper 2. So hence we will restrict ourselves to these books only. Apart from that, you will not purchase any other books, okay? Now coming to the next part, that is strategy, bacho. So we will be formulating multiple strategies in the foundation classes. First will be focus on those topics which have been asked repeatedly, because we need to focus on those topics which are important, and those topics which have not been asked from recent 6-7 years, probably we can skip them, right? So hence some themes, for example cyclones, a repetitive theme and huge overlap with the GS paper 1, okay? So has been asked multiple times. For example, starting from 1990s until very recently, they have asked about the different concepts around cyclones. So explain the origin, distribution and characteristics of tropical cyclones. Then compare the structure and associated weather conditions of tropical cyclones with that of temperate cyclones. Similar question. Then compare the origin and weather conditions which are associated with the tropical and temperate cyclones. Now you have an idea that is already this comparison and contrast has been asked from the previous 3 times. Should you be prepared about that? Definitely yes. You cannot skip such questions if they have been asked in the mains examination. Okay, these are brownie points and can always be asked in GS paper 1. And there are other associated aspects. So for example, why the frequency of cyclones is increasing nowadays? Why is it becoming more intense nowadays, etc. So hence you must understand these concepts, and because they have been asked repeatedly in the classes itself, we will be telling you that is a PYQ analysis, so that you have an understanding about those questions which can be again asked repeatedly. So extensive coverage especially of those topics, right? Then another theme, for example, in your paper 1 section B, human geography, the demographic attributes theme, one question they ask more or less every year, and some of the demographic attributes like the sex ratio, child sex ratios, etc. have been repeatedly asked. For example, in 2006 they asked about discuss the causes and consequences of sex ratios variations in India, highlight the implications of declining CSR in India, then again discuss the factors influencing the distribution of sex ratio in India. Now, if you have an understanding, that is, this theme has been asked repeatedly, what that would mean? That would mean that you will be covering the demographic attributes theme broadly, because again here you can score higher marks if the question is asked for 10 or 15 marks bacho. So hence the first strategy will be identification of those themes which have been asked repeatedly, add a more focus on these topics which can be again asked in multiple scenarios, right? Then the next strategy, that is learning the integration of thinkers. Once you are done with the unit of geographical thought, now you have a set of the name of thinkers starting from the Arabs, Greeks, okay, and then as we move towards the other thinkers from the German, okay, the French school, and now moving towards the American school, etc. You have the set of the thinkers. So hence you will be able to quote these thinkers across the answers so as to make your answer look like an enriched answer. So hence the first perspective will be to cover these thinkers, the name of these thinkers along with their important works extensively in the geographical thought unit, and then learning their integration across the different topics which will be covered in your foundation classes bacho. So for example, studying about Anaximander associated with mathematical geography, how the map making became very important during the initial time periods. So people, as they were observing the things around them, so they were also trying to outlay certain maps around these discussions and trying to understand the world around them. But a more systematic study around the map making, etc. was a later context. Okay, so hence understanding about these concepts will be built in your foundation classes. The next strategy, that is learning the integration of case studies bacho. So generally one of the most asked question is, after the foundation classes are over, ma'am, where should I cover my case studies, examples, etc. from? My classes are over but I do not have the set of case studies to enrich my answers. So hence our focus will be specially to give you multiple case studies, multiple datas for enrichment of your foundation content, so that after the classes are over, you will have a set of case studies to enrich your answers bacho. So for example, our understanding, that is this region, okay, that is the region, Sahel region is facing multiple challenges in wake of climate change. So a case study, that is about 13.5 million people across Africa's Sahel region can fall into poverty due to climate change related shocks by 2050, according to a new World Bank report. Okay. Similarly, we are also covering these case studies on a daily basis in the form of current affairs in the Sunya IAS Geography Optional Telegram channel, which you can join for daily enrichment with respect to current affairs around the geography optional. Okay, so you can log into Telegram and you can join the Sunya IAS Geography Optional Telegram channel, where we are providing you with the geography optional reads of the day, so that you can enrich your answers from the current affairs perspective as well. Okay, then next you can also learn the summarizations on a daily basis bacho. Now once the foundation classes are done, you have bulky notes with you and it creates a problem with respect to revisions. So hence on a daily basis, I will make you learn the summarization process, which is very important. So for example, these are some of the samples of the summaries which students have prepared in their foundation classes itself. So hence, the entire class day notes, which run into 10 to 12 pages, can be concised in only 1 page or 2 pages, so that you can have quick revisions. And later on, during the time when the mains is going on, this will be very helpful, bachcho. So you can directly write answers on the basis of your understanding from the summaries. This will be very beneficial for you to write answers. So these are the different strategies which will be pursued on a daily basis in the foundation classes. So those students who are planning to attempt the next year mains with the geography optional can enroll in the batch, and those students who are having any queries can fill the Google form, and we will contact you with respect to your queries, your doubts. So the link for filling the Google form is also given in the description box. You can fill the Google form. You can also contact us in both offline as well as online mode. And for any further queries and information, you can contact the official numbers as well. So that is all for the orientation session. And if you are planning to join the geography optional course, you can enroll in the batch. That is all for today. Thank you.